does one overcome the fear? If we know that being vulnerable leads to power,
Yeah.
how?
Well, I think writing about it. First of all, the person you have to confront is not your friend, not your spouse, not your mentor, not even your company. It's yourself. You have to look yourself in the mirror and say, yeah, that's the way I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I used to say, I don't like tack. I'm not impatient. Well, actually, I am. I'm very impatient. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll admit it to you. You know, my wife keeps calling me down. Why are you so impatient in traffic? Well, I actually don't like staying in traffic. I want to get there. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm still very impatient. Now, there's an upside to that, and then I get a lot of things done because of my impatience, but it's still an annoying to a lot of people. But once I confront that, then I find some of those weaknesses start to dissipate once I own them.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still vulnerable going right back into it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
I like being, you know, in front of a lot of people like you saw me at the World Business Forum.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm driven by that, then you and I can't have an authentic and honest conversation. Just two of us. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If I get to the point like Lyndon Johnson and Bill Clinton that I need the adulation of the masses, then I'm very vulnerable to things that are inappropriate.
Yeah. Well, I love the fact you spread that message because I happen to agree with it philosophically. I just also know it's not the path of least resistance and a bit more difficult. And so hearing what you have to say on the topic, I think is important for everyone to know. You mentioned being.
Can I just interrupt?
Oh, absolutely.
Confronted me in an advanced management, a general management class the other day, and said, "Well, that's great for you guys. Say at the end of your career, you've already made the money. You have to be this way coming up." I said, "Actually, you don't. You know. In fact, the earlier you figure this out, the better you're going to, the fuller life you're going to lead. So this is not something you learn when you're 40 or 50. That's what a lot of the theorists say. You can learn this very young. You know. The sooner you learn it, then you know, the better life you're going to have. You won't be on your third marriage. You won't take it. You won't be seduced into a job that doesn't fit you because it pays so well, or you don't sell your soul to the man. You know, recognizing it's always a two-way street. You only got one to sell.
That being said, do you think you would have gotten to where you are today had you not been impatient all of those years, or maybe not finding your true north until a bit later in your career?
Well, let me say that I've had these qualities. They don't go away. They are part of who I am. I hope to lessen them, you know, ameliorate them, but they don't go away. That is who I am. But you know, the behavior, I've attempted to behave in a certain way all along. I just didn't always pull it off. You know, it's not like I had an awakening at age 40 or 45 and said, "Oh, I want to change from this horrible person to this good person."
Sure.
I always had the goal.
Sure.
That hadn't changed. It's just how one develops.
Okay.
And I'm a great believer in human development and leadership development. And the earlier it starts, the better off you're going to be.
Now, one of the things you write about to that point is driving in your car while being an executive at Honeywell, vying for the position of CEO, and you kind of had an epiphany.
Yeah, definitely.
Kind of your true north moment. What was that like, having gone through the epiphany to realize your rightful path was to become leader of Medtronics than to stay at Honeywell?
Well, I got caught up in playing the game, and shame on me, but I did. You know, playing the CEO game, and that's pretty easy to do in an organization. You start all of a sudden, you say, "Oh, it looks like this person's getting ahead. That person behaves. This is what they expect," and some people actually do expect that. And I was losing who I really am, and like I say, shame on me for doing that.
It must have been difficult.
What's that?
It must have been difficult, though, to kind of realize that and then actually make the jump. I think it's one thing to realize it. It's another thing to do what you did and actually act on it. Can you take us through that? How did it feel? How did you manage some of your thoughts and feelings through that process?
Well, it's very, it's a painful process to go through, because you have to confront yourself. And once you do that, the people around you will be very supportive. They care about you just as you are. In fact, they like you more when you're real, when you're authentic. But you have to kind of give something up. And, you know, like when I went back to Honeywell, I endured a lot of anger from my boss, who was manipulating me. And he was afraid this would make him look bad. You know, he wasn't really concerned about me. But I sure endured a lot of anger. unfortunately, our society is pushing us towards those false images, to the vision of success, that this is how you get ahead.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I think many societal feedbacks today, the media, many people in the corporate world push us towards trying to be something we're not.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to make a good impression with a McKinsey interviewer,
Mm-hmm.
and not show them who you really are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you try to put on, you dress up the best way my students do, and you look the best,
Right.
and you present your best foot forward. And if you share your vulnerabilities and weaknesses, you figure you probably won't get hired. Maybe you won't.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the problem that we have inside of products in the media. If you're open and vulnerable, a lot of times it comes back to burning.
Mm-hmm.
But you find that people that aren't get themselves in a bigger hole.
Mm-hmm.
If you just say, "Hey, I made a mistake," you'll get burned for a day. But if you try to cover it up, you may be burned for years.
Mm-hmm. So are you suggesting that being true to yourself, albeit might present certain setbacks, the setbacks, if you aren't true to yourself, will be grander?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And the capacity for self-destruction to many, many ways. I mean, there are many ways we can self-destruct.
Mm-hmm.
Losing our job, losing our company, losing ourselves, losing our families, getting into substance abuse. I mean, there are just many, many ways we can get into forms of self-destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tragic when you see that, but you kind of know that people have not dealt with it. They don't know who they are. They haven't faced up to who they are. Once they acknowledge who they are, then they can go forward.
Mm-hmm. Now, one thing I like asking the folks I talk to is whether you attribute your success to hard work, luck, or skill.
Oprah says luck is preparation meeting opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good phrase. So if you want to tell us luck, just bluebirds flying in the window, no, I don't really believe that successful people are lucky.
Mm-hmm.
I do think there are people that get prepared, and then the opportunity comes up, and they grab for the brass ring, kind of like He did at Xerox. Grabbing for the brass ring when it came, never expecting to be CEO. When it came, she stepped up to it. First company was bankrupt. She had to deal with that, not declaring bankruptcy. So I think it's not that. I think it is preparation. You have to prepare yourself for what you want to do in life. And if you don't, you're very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think really, genuinely, and it's largely an inner preparation. If you just prepare yourself externally. If I go get I've never had a speech coach in my life. If I go get a speech coach, I give a good speech on the stage of Radio City Music Hall, I'll probably fail. You'll sit back there and say, "This guy's a real phone."
Mm.
That speech coach probably taught me how to be a phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, because I'm covering up who I am. You can always tell people like that. You can smell them a mile.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it really gets down to years of preparation. If you want to, win the Tour de France, you just don't show up and say, "I'm a great athlete. Here I am." Or anything that requires great dedication, playing the cello at Carnegie Hall.
Mm-hmm.
This requires years and years of decades of preparation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we all have to do that, and leadership's no different.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to test yourself in a tough situation. You can't do it sitting on the sidelines advising other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're just advising, you haven't really faced yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to